But we're having this conversation for us to understand what really goes into the budget, where sometimes people are up in arms and we're making noise and we say, we can't see. Okay. KRA is tasked with getting a lot of this money. That's where the finance bill comes in, and then they can collect. This thing that people are making noise about, what the finance bill says, that KRA can look into your M-Pesa, it's not because they're the boogeyman in the dark. It's because they're looking for other avenues where they can get a little bit of money, because 3.8 trillion shillings is a mighty sum of pressure for these guys to actually collect in 12 months. So that's where they're looking for this money to then be able to get it. But the National Infrastructure Fund that you mentioned in relation to this budget is something that we knew that, came up maybe October last year, November, the conversations happened. They went into full speed. When we talked about the divestiture of KPC and Safaricom, the courts have held on Safaricom for now. KPC, gone. But to where?
It is, and remember, it's a price of SHA system.
104 billion shillings. That's how much you got.
Yeah.
But where is it? But there's a fund that's supposed to be now building Malsame, Rironi, all these nice things.
Yes. So one, there is a fund that is supposed to build. This is project financing.
Yes.
The National Infrastructure Fund will only be used on projects that can repay. So if it's a road that is being used using the National Infrastructure Fund, it must have toll.
Okay.
To repay. It is like an expressway. When they build a sewer line, your rate for sewage and water must go up. So that is what the National Infrastructure Fund is going to do. Within that, the government will guarantee any loans that they take. If they are not paid, that debt becomes ours. But because we really need money to go there, I feel like it's wash. In the finance bill, in the finance bill, people who are going to invest in the National Infrastructure Fund, those ones are not paying tax. That money is not being taxed. It's there. If you're coming to invest, money that is being invested, those ones, we are forgiving them. Then they come, they invest, then they charge us, and then we continue. Okay, so I needed to clarify that our debt includes the amount of money we'll guarantee the National Infrastructure Fund. If they enact the National Sovereign Wealth Fund as well, that fund will be guaranteed by us. And do you know how many funds we have as a country? Where we just set aside money, we are rich. 75 funds. Why do we need 75 funds that we can barely track? Now, the debt is 12.8. We had gotten to 13.3. We've not added the guaranteed debt of KQ and many others. Securitization is debt. The money we've borrowed using the tourism levy. The money we are using the road levy. That is why we cannot even go out of our way to stabilize fuel, because title deed imeshikwa, but it's not in the official debt register.
And how do you know this, Diana? Because, there'll be those who say, okay, well, Diana and Tisa and Tom have looked at the numbers, and the only thing that it sounds like it's a grand heist. Is this in the numbers?
Yes.
So you can make this assertion based on the numbers that you see, which are public.
The public 12.8 securitization is not part of it.
Yeah.
And the securitization data, all of it has not been put forward. We know of a few areas where it has been used. We believe most of the levies have gone to securitization. We are still investigating what is the coffee levy doing, what is the sugar levy doing. All those levies, and what that means is whether we elect President Ruto 2027 or not, the person who comes has no money to utilize because we mortgaged a levy. And a levy is set aside for special development purposes to grow our tourism. Sugar levy to support the sugarcane sector.
Maintain our roads.
Yes, but we have deviated from that. We've been warned, because based on where our debt is, we need to restructure. That debt is not sustainable. People cannot die so that we pay debt. No. historically, when that happens, you have to restructure. But Kenya debt will be very difficult to restructure.
Why?
Because we have bonds, we have bilateral debt, then there are people who are at a special level of a category because then they have title deed, the securitization. So our process will be longer and more painful. When that happens, the pain in Kenyan homes will be tougher. Yet we are here with so much braggadocio, acting like we are the ones who know how to play the debt book. We've really been misused badly. Our debt is so high. And please add, we are now at 12.8. We have a deficit of 1.1. Tom tells me that always, you know what, when we are budgeting, where we are always in a deficit, even by the time we say we will raise 3.6, we will not. We will raise 3.4. But we must show we will raise a lot so that people allow us to mouth the budget of 4.8 trillion. So our deficit will be higher. Next year, when you call us here, we will tell you the official debt book is 14 trillion. Why? And you people are telling us, analyze. If you have $1 million, you will spend 10,000 a day. You finish it in 3 months. If you have $1 billion, you spend 10,000 every day. You use it for 274 years. Huh? That is what a billion is. A trillion. Even Jesus has not lived for how long you can use a trillion if you're using 10,000 a day.
I mean, and you see, Diana, as we speak, then we look at extra debt that has not been included into that registry, and we are speaking about 15 or so. So that means moving forward, then, Tom, if to restructure our debt is very difficult, that would mean the government in one way or the other will have to tax Kenyans even more. So Kenyans should get ready for higher taxes, because where we find ourselves, our title deeds have gone, we're being mortgaged. But that notwithstanding, I still go back to these variations that we see. From where I sit, is these are just political tools for individuals to do their politics, if you ask me. It is not meant to benefit Mwananchi in any way.
I'll agree with that statement. Why? Because if you are borrowing, in our constitution, you should borrow to develop, to do development. That is the only provision that has been given for borrowing in the constitution. Let me give you an example. Our deficit right now, is 1.1.
On this year's, but on this one that's coming up for reading, okay.
And the deficit is 1.1. And our development expenditure, total development expenditure, is 749 billion.
Sorry, just becoming slowly, I beg.
Yes.
This year. Okay, so there's a deficit of 1.1 trillion.
Then
the amount that has been allocated for development, and when we say development, we're talking about infrastructure, building of roads, schools, etc.
Some of it can even go to education.
Yes.
All right, 749 billion.
749,
okay.
Thereabouts.
Sorry.
Yeah. Then we want to borrow 1.1 trillion. So, from the word go, there is around 400 billion that we are going to borrow, but it is not going to
development.
It is not going to development. Take, for instance, also, how much are we going to borrow domestically? It is 995 billion. That is still more than what we are going to use for development.
Yeah.
So it means there is a component of borrowing we are going to go into that is not supporting development. It is going to support recurrent expenditure. It will be going to other people's pockets.
But isn't there a clause that allows you to borrow for short term, and I think the term is 90 days, 3 months, that allows you to meet a budget shortfall?
Yes.
And in that case, that's what this is, isn't it?
Shortfall of 500 billion, and then remember the supplementary budget and what we do with it. But I can see the extra appropriation has gotten to you. This is what it means. The president has gone to a number of schools. Has he gone to girls' schools, by the way?
Yes, there was.
One.
There was.
One.
There was an unfortunate incident where a young girl actually had a small accident. That was a couple of months, but he has gone to girls' schools.
Girls' schools.
Yes.
But I have followed more the boys' school. And the boys' schools are Alliance, Kapsabet, Njiris. Njiris is in my village. We were very happy. No, we were not. But not for me, I am not. Those are very big schools. He went to Alliance and promised $500 million. It can be gotten from the education kitty. Okay? But the budgeting process is to ensure equitable distribution of the 700 billion. And after the teachers, it's about 200 billion. So you've already taken $500 million and given it to Alliance, one of the most prestigious schools with the strongest alumni, with the best infrastructure in this country. That is where you're going to hand presidential goodies. You move from there, Kapsabet, another very well-equipped school. Njiris, a very well-equipped school. Then based on that, we will do a supplementary budget to vary the lines in the Ministry of Education. Then thereafter, Spice KTN, you will come and report to us in a very depressing way that a school in Tana River, children were devoured by crocodiles. Why? Because their classrooms are very near the river. But those have not been allocated. Supplementary budgets are immoral. They need to be stopped by all means. And every year the Auditor General flags them.
But
there's a lot of push and pull between controller of budget whenever that office is approving supplementary appropriation, because it's never ever justified.
Who is approving? This is the question here. Because how do you say that something must be stopped? Who is approving? There's an entire battalion of folks who sit at the Treasury, Tom, who are the ones who are crunching the numbers from August. But somebody says, okay, fine, go ahead and spend. Is it that they're not looking at the fine lines, the nitty-gritty? Because all of this is there. It is there. It's not hidden. Or maybe they say some of the best ways to hide something is just put it there. Put it in plain sight.
It's the executive wallet.
Who is saying go ahead to do this?
So it's a directive. It's an executive wallet. That Treasury is the lapdog that effects it. And then Parliament, that ought to stop it forever, strengthen the controller of budget not to authorize it ever, decides, actually, the president needs this. They need this. Okay. That's where we keep losing it. Expenditure. We were supposed to start zero-based budgeting this year.
What does that mean for those of us who are at the back of the class?
Zero-based budgeting means we have budget books that are pre-filled. We only tweak a few things. It's very difficult to add a new budget line. And historically, there are lines, like I said, there are lines that we should just do away with. Tom, you said we pay pension for people, UK people who worked here during the colonial period. We pay pension. Okay? So some of these lines, we need a new book. To start.
You guys have taken us to UK now.
For Kenyans in the UK.
Yes. So when you hear our expenditure,
Tom
our debt
no.
Not Kenyans.
For the colonialists.
No, colonialists.
Who worked here.
Those who worked here.
It's something that used to happen.
Or does it still happen?
It is still happening.
There's 39
million every financial year.
How
being allocated to
is this somewhere? Is it written somewhere?
Yes.
39 million shillings every year is going to pay non-Kenyans pension for the work they did in Kenya during the colonial times.
Colonizing us. We are very good.
This is happening as we speak.
Yes. By the way, we do not have any problems. We should not be paying more tax. We just need to be given the new budget book. We write it. Salaries. Yes. How many workers do we need?
No, sorry. Where is this thing written that 39 million shillings is going to pay people who are not Kenyans their pension?
It's in the budget book. It's part of the pension and the funds. Yes. Right now, by the way, this year, and we'll post it on our website, www.tisa.co.ke, Okoa Uchumi. Look for it. We'll analyze for you We cannot just keep saying we won't pay. We must show them why we will not pay additional taxes. We cannot continue. And you know, the worst thing is, these people, they play with our mind so much. So every ministry has a parastatal.
Yeah.
We will give you the analysis. So let me use like the the Attorney General. They have several parastatal. Kenya Law Reform Commission. That one, they have their own budget. So we tell them, don't buy a car here. The parastatal ends up buying the car for them. And that is still Kenya taxpayers' money. Their debt is guaranteed. Everything the parastatal does, the ministry could do.
Yeah.
Let's not even go back to the advisors who the Attorney General has led the country in appealing to ensure that they stay.
Yeah.
Advisors where those things are. So don't say we will pay more. The government only does what we citizens allow them to do. So if we allow them to tax us more, they will continue to enrich themselves as we get poorer, get malnourished.
Tom.
Yes.
I want to ask the question.
Yes.
We have been told time without number that the government of Kenya will implement austerity measures. That because you guys decided to throw out Finance Bill 2024, we will tighten our belts and see how we will not spend so that money remains here and you're able to fund the budget. Mwananchi, I'll read for you what they're saying. While Mwananchi are tightening their belts literally, the political class are tightening Gucci belts. Is that the situation?
I think that is an understatement because if you look at the wristwatches the politicians are putting on, the shoes that they have, the suits they have, those are not signs of austerity. If you look at then I've just talked of the parastatals, the funds that we are creating. These funds that we are creating, they come with staff, office costs, okay? Office costs. And those are additional costs. When you go to Office of the President, advisors, they are all over. And by the way, I looked at those items. Each and every one has got general administration cost, okay? General administration cost. Then we also see things like, how do we call it? How do we call this? There is hospitality costs. Each and every single line. Those are the chais and mandazis that we are talking about. Okay? And that tells you that the government, actually, they are not concerned about. They want to create jobs for their friends and their families and their boyfriends, their girlfriends. They have to find a way of accommodating them just to ensure that 2027 they're safe, comfortable, but not in the lens of a common Mwananchi. Because let me ask you, why would you have I know this one, people will say different, they will have different opinions. Why would we be paying the office of the former prime minister? Why would we still budget for his salary?
It's there in this budget.
It is in 2025, 2026. We have a supplementary. So it means up to the end of this financial year, we are planning for his salary and all those. A whole 8 million.
Maybe in the realization that, obviously because the person in question is deceased, they will roll back on that.
Not yet.
No?
Not
yes.
So where would that money go? If it's obvious that the individual, by natural attrition is not there, then shouldn't that money then, because you can relook your budget, you can.
So that is what Diana is saying, that ideally we've not, zero-based budgeting is still on paper. It has not been implemented because one of the things it was supposed to do, it was supposed to help us with the austerity, okay, in terms of unnecessary government expenditures, and that one we are not seeing happening. I've just pointed you to just one line, okay, because at this point, why am I justifying that there's no zero-based budgeting? The Ministry of Education, they wanted to do laboratories and workshops, equipment for special needs in TVETs, for example. Do you know what has been budgeted for? They've budgeted for dining halls. Why are they budgeting for dining halls when the ministry wanted laboratories?
People must eat well.
So it tells you someone went to the previous template and just pasted numbers there. They did not do. So we can justify that it is not happening. So what we are seeing, today is our government is not. By the way, this is the most unequal budget that we are going to see. It is going to bring serious inequality in the country. Serious inequality.
Okay. So, I mean, looking at the numbers, and of course, if we look at what's happening today being the final day that folks can give their submissions in terms of public participation towards the finance bill, which we understand that we don't. If we look at the funds essentially that we put in a basket is what is then demarcated in the finance bill. That's how now you see that, just for example, that there will be a 5% increased tax on whatever, that it'll cost you a little bit more to send money.
Yes.
That it'll cost you a little bit more to buy a mobile device, things like that. Now that money is what is going to go and fund all of this budget that we're talking about.
It is what will fund this luxury.
The excess.
Yes, it is funding. We are being taxed more to fund luxury.
So now when folks come and say then, Diana, reject the finance bill, does it make some sense? If there's coming from the understanding that the finance bill, from what you're saying, and of course if we look into the numbers then maybe we'll be able to establish that further, are they justified in the call to reject it? Or are there not some things that you can actually look into the finance bill and say it makes sense?
Duko, in the finance bill, it's largely, it was supposed to be about cleaning tax administration, making it neat. But because we needed to raise more revenue, we've gone to adding value-added tax for sending money. Okay? So we are a digital economy. The minute you add 16%, gosh,
there's no value. What value to you apart from the thing that you are purchasing when you send money is there that you would have to then add VAT on that procedure?
And yet already there are enough taxes.
Yeah.
When you pay for your RTGS 500, 600, there's enough money that is being raised in that particular sector. But we decide we need to charge merchant fee. Okay, the finance bill this year has increased the number of commodities, especially in the agriculture and the pharmaceutical sectors that are either zero rated or VAT exempt.
Okay.
So an attempt to grow that particular sector. But the Kenya Revenue Authority, they wanted to become Kenya Revenue Service.
Yes.
Will become the Kenya Revenue Command. Like set aside authority. Authority you can even negotiate. Command. They will be commanding algorithm. Their system will assess you. You do not self-assess yourself for tax, as has been the norm. And they will surveil us on every particular front.
Yeah.
They have tried that since 2023. So when we say, are there good clauses? Yes, there are good clauses in the finance bill. Why do we say reject a finance bill? What we are saying is reject new revenue. Reject new revenue because we do not have a revenue problem. Go fix the expenditure, go fix the theft, go fix the wastage, then come and we have the conversation. This year, even MPs are saying, please, we cannot work with a 4.82 trillion budget. It is time to rethink. Because you can feed a monster, but you realize the monster is coming to eat you. So I'm sure even the MPs who keep sending handouts, the handouts now are meaningless. So it is time to reset all that. It is therefore and that is what, and I hope you can help us push the country in that direction. We must begin the conversation of what is a reasonable budget. What is proper expenditure that Kenyans approve and are okay with. They are they look small. And when we tell it to the MPs, I don't know, it's because they are rich. You see, like the judiciary, we give the judges a car. All judges have a a taxpayers-driven car.
Yes.
Fueled and driven. The driver is paid by taxpayers. The car is paid by taxpayers
And the fuel.
24/7
Yeah.
to safeguard the independence of the judiciary.
Yes.
But in addition to that, we give them a personal car, 10 million every 4 years.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay? We just passed their retirement benefits, and upon retirement, every judge gets a car grant.
All judges.
Yes, when they retire, they will
Okay.
be getting that moving forward. That's not austerity. We love you. We love that you safeguarded justice. But justice must also be in the context of the country that we are living in. At retirement, that can't be the benefits that Parliament approves.
Okay.
When other people retire, immediately they are dying because they will no longer afford healthcare. People retire in debt.
Government isn't paying their pension.
Their pension already. And these are the types of perks we want. The minute you approve that for the judiciary, it's the same thing we'll approve for
Parliament.
members of parliament.
There's nobody that will be left
Cabinet,
out.
everybody. And it's just the upper levels of the public service that will benefit. Why are we enriching people who already had good salaries, who had good housing allowance, to be the ones who take away? So when this budget is analyzed, and luckily social media squeezy is there, AI is there, Kinatom, we will put out what every line means. And until we reset our budget, currently the budget we have is purely for the rich. And the rich who are not affected by anything. Do you know our hospitals? We've gotten a petition from Kenyatta. People telling us, come audit Kenyatta. Why? Because all money is now collected and goes to the East Central.
Yes.
So there's no money to run operations. So if the generator in Kenyatta switches off, that is allegedly, that is what the petition tells us, and we are going to find out, the babies will die. Because where do you get fuel?
So you must then go back. Essentially, a committee must sit.
Yes.
To spend money.
To spend money.
Okay.
But money must also come from outside. There's no kitty.
Within,
But it gets so bad that sometimes hospitals lack stitching thread after an operation. Okay? That is when we are discussing certain perks for people, either in the judiciary, in parliament, in the executive. Something must give. Something, when we say austerity, it means exactly that. The Nairobi County governor cannot be telling us that they're going for a trip to New York. No. We live in a digital space. We can bring you a screen and show you the whole of New York. We will give you all the policies. You give us an angle. You want to be on what street? We will take you there. You want to go to Brickley? We on our computer. All you need is internet.
Yes.
These are the things that must stop. How many times do you see the ministers of China coming here to benchmark? What? And they bring a very small delegation. But those countries are growing. The quality of our leaders, which therefore speaks to the quality of the voters, sadly, is affecting us. And it is the reason we have a ridiculous 4.8 trillion.
All of these things are connected.
Do you reckon that the citizenry make the connection? Are they beginning to make the connection on what their vote means to their future and that of their children?
As I add to that, just on the finance bit kidogo, there's an additional money we are seeking to raise using the finance bill. So you asked a good question. That should now the citizens justified to say that they're rejecting the finance bill? By the way, as a young person, this finance bill is going to affect me more than you. It is seriously going to affect me. And why I would boldly say that some of the provisions there must be deleted or in totality removed. How can we be...
Such as what?
How can we be boxed into paying some of this just to go and fund, for instance, catering services for the deputy president? Or is domestic travel. 88 million going towards such kind of things. When, what Diana said, people are dying in hospitals. The other day, I had a friend who, I think the child came a little bit earlier at Kenyatta, and they had to be taken through incubation. What happens if that generator goes off? The child will die. That is how serious it is. And now the provisions we are being given is you raise money to fund someone who is going to travel to do an arambe somewhere, or to offer catering services to some group of people somewhere. That is seriously insane. Now, on your question on the voters, I think if they didn't understand last year, or first still, if they didn't understand what was in the supplementary in January or in February this year, they have to understand what is in the finance bill and what is in the budget for 2026-2027.
Oh, why? Because the supplementary budget that came January, February, essentially was it's an additional extra to get some more money because it didn't come in the original budget. And those will play out in this same financial year. So if you see something like that happening, then is it an indication of what is to come, or are they separate issues?
It is. They are tied. They are connected, because the numbers that were brought for us in January and February in the supplementary, they have been used to calculate what is in the estimates for 2026-2027, and also to do projections for the medium term, 2027, 2028, and 2028-2029. So, if we remain quiet, actually, it is going to affect us beyond this regime. Yeah. So ideally, they are really tied. They are really connected. And if we think it is far off, if by any chance, because I know for sure we are not going to collect 3 trillion in ordinary revenue. If that happens, this is seriously going to affect us, because we are going to borrow. Who is going to pay that money?
Borrow more.
Yeah.
And if we are going to borrow, how is that connected to the services that we are going to get?
So you're saying that from what you're projecting, or if 2025, 2026 is any indication, that it's very possible that into 2026, 2027, the Kenya Revenue Authority will not collect 3.8 trillion shillings.
It won't. This is so that even the books look manageable. We will not collect the 2.9, almost 3 trillion. We project we may collect 2.7, thereabout 2.75. So we will have a higher deficit. We will then borrow. To make sure we can borrow, the government already has restructured our debt. Restructuring our debt, when that we go and talk to, we owe you 2 trillion. Subache. Tulipe ka interest kidogo, tuta resume 2032. 2032, 31. Sema, sawa, yora. We kick the can down the road. Okay? And why we say the youth will be affected, most of our debt has been renegotiated and will kick in 2028 onwards. The bulk of the debt repayment will come back. 2031.
Who went, I sound like an owl. Who went and had the conversation about restructuring this debt? Who is that?
You've not had the CS expert, the PS, Treasury, FCPA, even the previous cabinet secretary. They renegotiated because we needed breathing space. But they just kicked the can down the road, and immediately we renegotiated. We started borrowing
again.
More. So usually you renegotiate so that you reorder your house. Not
but
that
there was no house reordering that then took place.
No. So that's the
Diana. So were we lied to when we were being told that lazima tuache kuchimba shimo, we must stop borrowing immediately so that we can be able to take care of ourselves? All we did was to renegotiate this, push it further down the road, but continue borrowing. Is it true that Kenyans were literally lied to on the position of debt and what the government would do to help the country deal with the issue?
Yes. yes, and yes. We avoided an express debt default by telling people, allow us to pay in the future. We never changed our borrowing practice. And most of the debt renegotiated is foreign debt. Now we cannot go and borrow outside because with those we have already renegotiated. We now increased our domestic borrowing, which is more expensive. We were not only lied to that we will stop, we expanded our spaces for borrowing. Securitization, we are borrowing.
NIF.
You just call it something that sounds cool.
Yes. NIF, we are borrowing. The sovereign
borrowing NIF.
National Infrastructure Fund. That money is debt. Is debt that we will now not pay.
Why?
Through the consolidated fund services. We will pay.
Why?
As we are getting the service. If it's a road service.
No. But you were told KCP, the partial divestiture of government funds in KCP, ownership rather, in KCP was, and we know Uganda gave money, Kenyan investors gave money. We were told that it's going into a fund.
Yeah.
And the fund is supposed to now
that is seed capital. That is seed capital to attract more project financing. Project financing is a loan that goes specifically to a viable commercial project that must bring back revenue. So the divestiture, hata afadhali ingelipa deni ama ijenge classrooms for Kenyans. This is seed capital so that we go back to Dubai, to whichever capital, and tell them, are you able to build for us near port terminal? Yes, please come in.
Take 100 billion.
Yeah,
or how?
It's the seed capital top up. It gets to $1 trillion. How will we get it back? This is the amount of money we will charge for that particular terminal. You want a road? Yes, we'll build for you. This road always has traffic. The people who do not want traffic when they are going to the village back in Western will use the toll road. They will repay. We will get back our revenue. So it's still debt. It is still debt in every form and manner. Is that the type of development that we want? And as we do that, not all roads can be told. It's okay.
No,
don't take Panadol.
It's because I'm looking at this debt as you're just explaining it, right? So we have NIF, we've taken all these debts where we pay using our toll and everything. And I'm assuming all this debt is tied to a certain period. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. That means if within that period we've not been able to pay back this individual, does it automatically become the debt that then goes back to consolidated fund?
Yeah.
Dennis anauliza pesa ya KPC kwa wapi?
Pesa ya KPC?
Si pesa ya KPC. Wacha kwanza. So, we have used infrastructure fund as the guarantee upon which someone has constructed the Rironi Road, right? It is pegged
that's the plan.
That's the plan,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Then it is pegged on, it shall be paid within 30 years.
Yeah.
After 30 years and you've not been able, that debt has not been paid. Does it go back to then again, all of us, to then pay?
Yes.
So that means it is just another debt in waiting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's another debt in waiting. So the youth especially wait for you will pay.
You will pay.
You will pay. So if you don't stop them now, you will really, really pay. And actually, I happened to sit on a panel with an economic advisor, and he explained this is where money is whoever invests decides the project.
Yeah.
So we will not, the usual public participation, not on NIF, okay? But we shall be here. We shall stop things we don't like. Then they can decide. But it's that painful and costly. But let me bring this other context. You've seen the way there is the issue of children being abandoned. The close to 7,000.
Yeah.
Then those who are being
10,000
cumulatively abduction.
Yes.
But also all this is based on we passed a policy that we need to close children's home. Government can't be taking care of children. But we become so negligent that 10,000 children go get
And our
abandoned and
eyebrows are
missing,
not-
and it is not. We have not seen a presidential address on it.
Yeah.
Children disappear to that extent. In this budget, what are we doing to protect those children? Look at what is happening in families as a result. The levels of violence. It is all linked to this particular extractive budget and taxation. If Kenyans take nothing else, even the bank that is profiting a lot from the loans is saying, we can't do this anymore. We live in this country. The few bonuses I will get as somebody who works in the financial sector is not commensurate to the harm we will have caused the country. Now, we keep saying we will get a haircut. The day a haircut comes, a haircut means we will say we are not paying bills and bonds for this particular period. And if your bond was valued at 100, we have valued it at 40. You lose this.
No
Pension
question.
funds,
No,
no question.
I beg. Okay.
What will happen to our banks? Pensioners, they will have lower incomes in a more difficult time. That is what is about to come. And under the new constitution, the cabinet secretary should not be reading the budget. He should not be wasting our time carrying a briefcase.
Repeat, please.
Under the Constitution 2010, the budget is passed by Parliament. It is already there on the website.
Kenyans already reading it.
Yes, this other ceremony is like reciting a Bible verse
Yeah.
that is already written. The budget is already written. It is now time for Kenyans to analyze it and engage with members of parliament on the few tweaks and changes that are required. Secondly, I know parliament has communicated that they close hearing today.
Yes.
But the likes of the people-based organizations, churches, Okoa Uchumi, our date is 29th. So kujeni tupeleke maoni parliament on both the finance bill and the budget. Because if we do not, power only listens to numbers. It listens to fellow power. Sisi, are we trillionaires? No. Are we billionaires? No. But we have our numbers.
Power listens to numbers.
Yes. So please let us send memoranda in our numbers. Let's show up before both the Budget and Appropriation Committee as well as the Finance and Planning Committee in our numbers.
Okay, I want to come back to the National Infrastructure Fund and where essentially that money goes, because all of this ties in. But before that, I know that there were questions, and you're also giving that, CTA now about what you can do to come out and make your views heard. And that can be based on some of the things that we've spoken about this morning, or some of the things that you've heard, or even if you're totally confused, that can be, I am totally confused. What does this all mean?
Yeah.
And actually say that. So in terms of where this can actually go, submissions for the finance bill are sent to the Clerk of the National Assembly. That is CNA. CNA at Parliament. That is, the N is November, Alpha at parliament.go.ke. CNA at parliament.go.ke. You can copy it to clerk.nationalassembly at parliament.go.ke. If you write a letter and send it by carrier pigeon, P.O. Box 41842 -00100 Nairobi, Kenya. That is to the Clerk of the National Assembly, P.O. Box 41842-00100. Remember also that you need to identify yourself when you are sending this. Just say what it is that you need to say in relation to the finance bill. Be specific, reference specific clauses. Clause 15 regarding VAT on digital services. Explain your support or objection. Otherwise, it will be thrown out. Explain the reason why you are supporting and or rejecting. And also provide alternatives is what they say. If you object a tax, for example, suggest an alternative way for the government to meet its revenue targets, for example. That's what they're asking you to do. And you can also show up at public participation places, TISA is doing one. There are a number. I believe that the public submissions are closing today, but there are other options for you to do this. So folks were asking, that is it. If you're doing it from the comfort of your home, where you're sending an email, again, the email is cna@parliament.go.ke or clerk.nationalassembly@parliament.go.ke. All right. So we can do that, and we'll send a reminder about what that's about.
Yes.
You can be involved in this. When we talk about citizen-centered governance, this is what we are talking about. When you have an understanding, or even if you have total confusion about what is going on, ask questions so that this governance is actually sorted out. Okay, Diana and Tom at some point here. The National Infrastructure Fund, right? The Cabinet Secretary, interestingly enough, sat where you were sitting and told us that an organizational structure would then be established for the NIF. And the funds that came from partial divestiture of the shares, of government shares, in KPC or any other publicly listed company that they wanted to, make use of, would go to, there would be a bank account, there would be a CEO, there are people, because he said, government is bad at doing business, too much bureaucracy, too much. That's why they needed that to be done. Now, some of that has already happened. In terms of where you're going to get money for development, this thing that Tom is saying, no, absorption is very low. For up to now, they have a solution. And they're saying, we will form a company where we can be assured that this absorption problem that we talk about in budgets gone by will not be an issue anymore. And we build Kenya, those things. KPC has happened to the tune of 104 plus billion shillings. The company is yet to be established, the CEO and all those people. So where did this money go?
Okay. I could go. The minute we began, the sequence was Government-Owned Enterprises Act. This is a law that was to provide for how companies that are owned by government will be administered. And they are under the Cabinet Secretary Treasury and under the Government-Owned Enterprises Act. The Cabinet Secretary works closely with the AG to regulate.
Okay.
He's in charge of all government-owned enterprises. Thereafter, we set up the Privatization Act that says, how do we go about privatizing government-owned enterprises? Again, who is the person in charge of regulating and protecting privatization? The Cabinet Secretary.
Okay.
No, it doesn't go to Parliament. He's really in charge.
Okay.
Whether the next time it's a she, it's the Cabinet Secretary who is in charge.
Okay.
Then we set up the National Infrastructure Fund.
Yes.
The Cabinet Secretary sits on the council. He then appoints the board.
Yes.
He's the one who presents what is to be he's presented to the investment plan. He looks and says whether it's reasonable. Then he reports to Parliament. Is it once a year?
Yes, once a year.
Once a year. So the National Infrastructure Fund that has all this oversight is just the Cabinet Secretary being the prosecutor, the jury,
the judge,
the benefactor, everything. Everything. Other infrastructure funds that are set up are so independent from Treasury.
Or they should be.
They should be.
Okay.
Their line should only go to the central bank where they run an account. Essentially, they ought to report to the Parliament. And the appointment ought to go to Parliament. In this case, it's just the Cabinet Secretary. They are saying, we need to cancel the noise. Money must come in quietly, and you Kenyans are noisy. Is that what we mean by good governance? I am not sure. We've not recruited.
Yeah, because if he puts it out for all of you people to talk, you're making too much noise.
Too much noise.
Right.
Money runs silently, trillions. Now, when that money was we asked during the public participation, when we appeared, we were told the money will go to the consolidated fund. Okay?
Okay.
because the parliament, by the time we even did the divestiture of Safaricom, there was no national infrastructure fund.
No.
At all. Okay? Right now, I am not sure because the accounting officer for the National Infrastructure Fund is it a CEO?
Supposed to be a CEO.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have not recruited. So without an accounting officer, that money goes to the consolidated fund.
Okay.
When it hits there, it's no longer National Infrastructure Fund.
money.
It's consolidated fund. Again, the entire sequence in the PFM is followed. The first charge, debt. The second one,
Recurrent,
presidential. Then recurrent and so on. Whereas all this is the priority ought to be national interest, then debt, then government priorities and so on. But we have never defined that for ourselves.
So you're saying the money from KPC has already gone?
If their debt obligation, how will you keep the money there? The minute it gets into the consolidated fund, it follows the same set of rules as our tax, it's income. It's revenue that we generated by selling our vital assets as a country. But maybe they have ring-fenced it. And we will ask...
Is it possible to ring-fence funds within the consolidated fund?
I am not...
Tom is shaking his head.
Yeah, Tom, maybe. And the questions are important. Kenyans, help us ask.
Yes.
Is it possible to ring-fence funds within the consolidated fund and say, well, because we didn't have infrastructure set up for this NIF, we're just going to keep these funds over here, and then when we do, we'll take the funds from the consolidated fund and then now whip it back to the fund account?
I've not seen that provision, especially when we were analyzing the National Infrastructure Fund and when we were appearing before the committee. So that there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee for that. At least for the Sovereign Wealth Fund, there's a little bit of difference.
Okay.
Because they say the money goes there, then it is directed to the fund. But for this one, we don't have that. We don't have that assurity. And you know, with what is happening right now, debt actually will take, especially domestic debt, will take it. Or once it comes, it will yes, straight away.
Okay, so
it's that is how it is. Yes. But Kenyans, wake up! This is our country. This is your budget, tax, the debt. Always remember, the debt is future tax, very near future tax. So the same way we oppose the finance bill, we need more rigor and vigor in analyzing any debt that comes into the country and how it is acquired, how it is utilized. You know, we are yet to finalize our analysis of how debt is used in this country, and it is just depressing.
And you're not done yet?
No. The history of debt in Kenya, all our big mega scandals before we got to, this is like the higher level of mega is?
Promax,
scandals. Goldenberg was a debt scandal. Anglo leasing was a debt scandal. Debt is very easy to steal. Debt is very easy to procure and thereafter drive other procurement to benefit people. If we were 12.8 trillion investment-rich country, by now, we would be a donor for the World Bank.
Innit?
We would not be a recipient. 12.8 trillion.
Yeah.
That investment would be visible everywhere.
Right?
Yes.
If you put 12 trillion into your economy today, you're going to feel it somewhere.
Exactly.
Somewhere. All right. You were just supposed to come and give us a little bit of headache-inducing information this morning, but I think the Panadol is a little... Look, and it's for information, for knowledge, so that you can take it and do something with it, because we're not talking about sitting and wallowing in problems. We're saying there must be a way that you can get towards the solutions. This is one of them. Just a reminder that email is cna@parliament.go.ke, and you need to send a copy to clerk.nationalassembly@parliament.go.ke. I don't know if somebody's going to respond and say we have received your submissions, but it would be nice to get some kind of feedback from that. And like the Institute of Social Accountability tells us, there will be more, there will be options. Come out, Kenyans, because power understands numbers. I think that's something we can go away with this morning. Diana Gishengo and Tom Ogada, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We said 10 minutes, but it came out to be another one, but it was necessary to do. Asante Sana. This is how we start off the week on the Situation Room. This is what it looks like. Don't be quiet. Let's talk. Let's move things. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.